58th meeting of the Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs. We acknowledge that we meet on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe peoples. We also have a wonderful full room today, so it's so nice to see so many smiling faces. It gives us good energy for our work ahead. Notre réunion aujourd'hui se déroule.
Our meeting today is being held in a hybrid format in accordance with the House Order adopted on Thursday, June 23rd, 2022, and members will be present in person or with Zoom, or via Zoom. Proceedings will be posted on the House website. For your information, the webcast will always show the individual speaking rather than the entire committee.
I would like to outline a few rules to follow. You may speak in the official language of your choice, of course. Interpretation services are available for this meeting in French, English, and Inuktitut. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either Floor, Inuktitut, English, or French. Please select your language now. If interpretation is lost, please inform me immediately, and we will ensure interpretation is properly restored before resuming the proceedings. For members participating in person, proceed as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person in a committee room. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your mic will be controlled as normal by the Proceedings and Verifications Officer. S'il vous plaît, adressez votre intervention.
Please speak through the chair.
Speak slowly and clearly. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. With regard to a speaking list, the committee clerk and I will do the best we can to maintain consolidated order of speaking for all members, whether they are participating virtually or in person. Pursuant to Standing Order 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on November 21st, 2022, this committee is concluding its study of improving graduation rates of Indigenous students. Today, in our first panel, we welcome as an individual, Ms. Ella Esty, who is a student in person. Thank you so much for being here. We have from Keona College, Jose Tomas Arreola, Clinical Supervisor by video conference. And we did have Ms. Tammy Steinwand, but unfortunately we don't have the proper headset for interpretation, so we'll have to have her rescheduled for another time. You'll each have 5 minutes for your opening remarks, and Ms. Esty, please start us off.
Thank you, Chair.
Good afternoon. My name is Ella Esty.
For inviting me. I would also like to thank the Inukshuk High School Social Studies teacher Patrick McDermott for his direction with my project. I would not be here today if it was not for his class. I'm representing Nunavut's education system from a student's perspective. The government of Nunavut does not meet their own expectations of having a higher quality Inuktitut curriculum for our education department, which I believe is the cause for the unacceptable Inuit graduates in the territory. Nunavut has an agreement with Alberta and uses their education system for Nunavut schooling. However, the colonial aspects of the education system created difficulties for Inuit to succeed academically. This contributes to a lack of confidence for students going on to post-secondary education or to drop out of school entirely. I also believe that using Alberta's education system causes a sense of unimportance to cultural classes that are added onto the foreign curriculum. Multiple different strategies were discussed during Nunavut's development, yet they failed due to the lack of incentive due to the lack of planning and incentive to have the strategies implemented into the education system prior to their estimated completion. There are many factors that contribute to the low graduation rates in Inuit, but prioritizing the language and the culture of Inuit will raise their chances of graduating. The use of Alberta's curriculum in Nunavut schools is one of the major causes for Inuktitut-speaking students to not learn at an academic level with their language. Nunavut has been using Alberta's system before becoming an official territory in 1999. The use of the curriculum is to give graduates from Nunavut the opportunity to have a variety of options for post-secondary education due to the recognition of Alberta's education system as a success. This seems like a positive for Nunavut students to have the chance to graduate with an acclaimed education like Alberta's. However, it is not accommodating to Inuit students who wish to graduate academically as well. The curriculum is taught and tested either in English or French. There is no Inuktitut translation for this curriculum. There is also no Inuktitut evaluation of the departmental exams. This leads to less motivation to attend post-secondary education or to drop out of school entirely. According to Statistics Canada, in 2016, 48% of people aged 25 to 64 in Nunavut had a high school diploma or equivalency, compared to the 86 in Canada. On top of that, Statistics Canada states that in the same year, 41% of people in Nunavut aged 25 to 64 did not have a high school diploma. This is due to the struggles and language barrier between Inuktitut and the English and French curriculum. The dismissal of Inuktitut within the education system causes the low graduation rates for Inuit. If Inuktitut was prioritized, it would motivate Inuktitut speaking students to stay in school and seek post-secondary opportunities solely based off of a better understanding in their education. Not only are the academic classes taught in a foreign language to Inuit, but the cultural studies in their schooling are not set to the same standard as Alberta's. Since these courses like Audayaktuk and Inuktitut class are added onto the Alberta curriculum, there is no official evaluation set in place by Alberta for these classes, nor do they have a major impact on the academic diploma. Inuktitut should be set to an academic standard for graduation. It presents Inuktitut and Inuit culture as something valued by students. Instead of having Inuit associate with an education system that does not connect with their loyalties, schools in Nunavut should value Inuktitut language and culture the way they prioritize the academic classes to ensure the success of Inuit students. And there have been several strategies discussed for the improvement in Nunavut education, yet they never met their final completion. For example, the Kalatuk strategy in 2006 planned to have teachers from around the world go through the Nunavut Institute for Research or Educator Training. It's called NIRET, to learn Inuktitut from elders in hopes those teachers to have their Inuktitut teaching degree by 2019, thus having more Inuktitut speaking teachers. However, there was little to no progress made because of the lack of annual follow-ups from the education department, not to mention the Nunavut teacher education program had no requirements to plan any training program for these international teachers. Another example is Bill 37, which would have rolled out a bilingual education systems for grades 4 to 9 by 2029, but there are multiple inconsistencies. Mainly, there is no commitment to have a bilingual education system for grades 10 to 12, and generally no plan for this to be put into action. These two strategies lack the incentive to have the projects completed. Inuit graduation rates can grow if we show the importance of Inuktitut for Nunavut's curriculum and prioritize the planning and research for these future strategies. Although there is much said by politicians about the importance of Inuktitut in our schools, it is not seen as a priority to the Department of Education. Inuit students struggle to learn in academic classes due to the lack of support for Inuktitut in Alberta's curriculum. This has caused low graduation rates. Alongside the absence of Inuktitut within the curriculum, cultural classes within the system are not prioritized as much as the academic classes, which misrepresents the importance of Inuit language and culture when perceived this way. The multiple strategies discussed over the years have not reached any conclusions because of the lack of incentive within the projects. When the Nunavut Land Claims Agreement was created, the idea of a bilingual education system in Nunavut was not prioritized. This has resulted in the government of Nunavut to fail in meeting that expectation, and so Inuit contribute to the Nunavut's low graduation rates. This continues to weaken the value of Inuktitut as a language and the build for a better future for Nunavut students. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Jose Tomas Arreola and Dennis Gross-Louis, who will be sharing their first introductory 5 minutes. I apologize for leaving you out the first time.
Oui, we're going with the Ziadzi. Je m'appelle Denis Gros-Louis. Je suis
Denis Gros-Louis, Director General for First Nations Education. I'm representing CUNA, which is part of the First Nations School Council. I'm accompanied by Jose Tomas Arreola, Clinical Supervisor, with whom I'll be sharing my time. Founded in 2011, the CUNA institution is the only college by and for First Nations in Quebec. Its objective is to train First Nation citizens in a learning environment focused on their identity, culture, and languages. CUNA offers college programs in English and French, thanks to accreditation partnerships with 2 colleges in Quebec. CUNA stands out from non-Indigenous colleges by offering unique programs and, most importantly, by providing outstanding support services. The student body is largely Indigenous with multiple and specific needs. When students arrive, in addition to offering them a quality education, we take into account their needs, whether they are psychosocial, emotional, socioeconomic, and very too often reduces their availability for learning. 50% of the student clientele consult psychosocial intervention services. Psychosocial services are a cornerstone of CUNA's mission and success. In addition, CUNA welcomes students and their families. 1/3 of our students have family responsibilities. To this end, CUNA has, for example, developed a child and family program called SCAMON for homework assistance. These services must therefore compensate for this reality, to which is added the complexity of the second language for many students. We need to think outside the box to help our students and their families to succeed without financial support that takes into account their specific situations. As a college institution, CUNA's funding is based on a three-part formula from the Quebec Ministry of Higher Education. Unfortunately, this provincial approach only meets 40% of the operational budget, thus jeopardizing CUNA's dual educational mission and support services. CUNA must be able to count on the financial support of the federal government, because post-secondary education is not a social policy but our future. Jose, over to you.
Good afternoon, members. Jose Tomas Arreola, Clinical Supervisor at CUNA. As Mr. Gros-Louis explained, these psychosocial services are a critical support to ensure academic success, but they are also an essential element in a process of healing and reconciliation. The prevalence of psychosocial difficulties among students at CUNA has multiple roots, but they are in large part connected to the identity and intergenerational traumas that have wounded multiple generations. Our psychosocial services are composed of a clinical supervisor, a neuropsychologist, a psychosocial counselor, and 2 special education counselors. These services constantly operate at full capacity. Per semester, we can have about 40 follow-ups and now close to 30 assessments of children and students. These numbers are the outcome of students and their dependent being undiagnosed until their arrival at CUNA, resulting from the lack of qualified professionals in communities to undertake assessments and follow-ups. It is also important to note that these psychosocial services are unique in their form, as they are culturally adapted and offered under several modalities. They range from weekly individual follow-up, group interventions on functional autonomy or community worker outreach, to healthy life habits, traditional and territorial activities organized by our cultural life worker, and our intervention projects through physical activities and outdoor. As wide, difficult, time-consuming, and costly these efforts may be, they work. CUNA is proud to say that since their implementation, the number of severe psychosocial crises of this organization, which mobilize several resources and often gravely affect the student academic performance, have gone from 1 or 2 per semester to 0. First Nation know and possess the tools to combine healing and academic success. It is now up to you and your provincial counterparts to think outside the box and support them. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll now proceed to our first round of questions, beginning with the Conservatives and Mr. Zimmer. You have 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks to our witnesses. But Ella, I see you have a whole bunch of fans behind you supporting you today in Ottawa. So I just wanted to say a shout out. Thank you for coming. Yeah. No pressure at all, hey? Again, thanks for coming. I see an article here. This is from a few years ago. This is from grade 7 students speak out about a Iqaluit school bus overcrowding. And you're mentioned in the article, you and your friend Vanessa, but your advocacy now extends to Ottawa. So I applaud you for just standing up and being counted for your opinion. But again, we're here about graduation rates and how do we see them get better. You talked about the dropping out as a problem. We've seen that statistically too. It's a big issue, especially in Indigenous and Inuit communities. And you said that part of it's an English language barrier or a Inuktitut barrier in education. And you talked about, there has been talk before about strategies meant to address those problems. But then you said that the strategies have not been followed through. And I think that's where it lands with us to say, okay, well, this can't continue or else it just isn't going to get better. I was a former teacher. I taught high school for about 7 years, and I went to university and all that. But I'm going to ask you a simple question because I think nobody better can explain how to fix a problem or how to do better than other than somebody who's been through that system up in Nunavut. So what would you do if you were the boss? How would you make it better? And that's a big question. But what are some simple things, really, just as simple as helping your colleagues in school graduate where they didn't before? What are some simple things that we can even look at? And maybe it isn't simple, but what are some things that you would recommend that we do to help that rate go up?
Thank you for the question. I will say that it really is not a simple question to answer, but thinking about the situation and doing research within this time, my main goal to help really would be for just for Inuit students and Inuktitut speaking students to have that moral support from their teachers and have that cultural connection, because I believe that is one of the biggest motivational factors to go to school. It's just knowing that you are supported and relating to your teachers. For example, my music teacher, Mary Piercy, even though she is a white woman, she does present Inuktitut and Inuit culture beautifully throughout choir. Like her choir and her music class, and that is honestly a main reason why I love that class so much. So that would be one of my biggest things, is just to have that role model to look forward to and to motivate you to go to school. Another thing would be is almost a reverse of that for the Inuktitut teachers, Inuktitut speaking teachers, to have that support from their workplace. Many Inuktitut teachers do not get their bachelor's of education, and so with that do not get the all of the benefits that other academic teachers would get, like proper housing and things like that. So I believe that to motivate Inuktitut teachers, or the inflow of Inuktitut teachers, would be to prioritize them physically in the system as well.
Right. Well, kind of building on that, and I appreciate what you said there, and that's partly the answer that I'm looking for, because when you talked about graduation rates, you talked about that there was a higher number in other communities where the graduation rate was higher, and you said it was lower in Nunavut, but there still is a success rate there. It's not zero, right? So what I was going to ask you is, you going through school yourself, what did you see was the difference? And you talked about, this is what I'm saying, you already kind of answered it. You saw colleagues of yours graduate, and then you also saw the ones that were sitting beside them in class that didn't. And I guess, what would you do more, I guess, to see, give me some examples of the ones that made it. What was the difference there? Why did they make it?
That is actually a great question. I believe that the ones who have, or Inuit who have succeeded academically, is that they have their association within the curriculum that they're based in, they've adapted to the English curriculum incredibly well, to the point where they have a full understanding of their education and therefore have graduated. Those, for example, who may have flown in, this is mostly Iqaluit based because it's a very multicultural city on its own. So for an example, somebody who has Inuktitut as their mother tongue moving into Iqaluit and going to high school there can have an incredibly difficult time because they do not understand English to a full level, and therefore cannot graduate academically because of that language barrier. So yeah, I believe those who do succeed academically have that bilinguality and understand English enough to graduate in the Alberta system. And, I apologize,
Yeah.
Chair. In smaller communities as well, more of the academic classes, like math and science, majority of those teachers are also Anglophone and speak English. So from a smaller community's perspective, many Inuit kids probably do not like that class or don't go to school or skip that class because, again, they don't have they don't have that English understanding and therefore cannot relate to it culturally as well.
Great answers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmer. We'll now proceed to the Liberal Party with Patrick Weiler for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd also like to thank our witnesses for being here today, especially Ms. Este and the many folks that are here joining in the crowd. I would like to ask my first question to the First Nations Education Council and to Monsieur Gros-Louis. I understand in the past that you've been a regular contributor to the Montreal Gazette. And you have recently spoken out against the French language instruction requirements applying to First Nation schools following the passage of Bill 96. And so I was hoping you could share with this committee what specific concerns you have regarding La Loi 96 in Quebec and how it will affect Indigenous schooling.
Thank you, Mr. Boiler. First and foremost, the federal government invested $1.1 million recently in funding elementary and high school levels in Quebec through the 22 First Nation who are member of the First Nation Education Council. And I think it takes three to tango. After spending a significant amount of money over the next 5 years to pursue, to promote, to support graduation, when I say it takes three, Quebec needs to be there as well to strike down all those systemic barriers based on French as the common language in Quebec and acknowledge that some of our schools, some of our students must and will continue to speak their language. Part of the agreement that we signed last summer, $4.6 million will be invested in teaching languages and culture in our elementary schools. And when they reach out college where Mr. Arreola works, that's going to be like a buffalo jump if they have to be fluent in French, as if they must give up their language. One of the challenges we're facing is twofold. First, 92% of our students will graduate at CUNA once they get to CUNA because of the quality of services provided by Mr. Arreola. The challenge we're facing is that by not promoting our ancestral language, 50% of our English speaking as a second language learners will leave the province of Quebec, whereas 96% of our French as a second language learners will stay in Quebec. So that to me is an assimilation policy.
Thank you. Moving on, I understand that that First Nations Education Council has recently signed a regional education agreement with Minister Hajdu last summer. I was hoping you could speak to what that's meant for Indigenous students and their ability to connect with their language and culture.
Well, as I said, the historic signature of the agreement is that it was designed by First Nation based on real needs. And so therefore, Minister Hajdu and the Chiefs Committee on Education here has been able to meet in this agreement to support our native language as the core of the curriculum. It will also promote a feeling of pride, feeling of ownership amongst our students, and it will boost our culture forward, therefore reducing the exodus that we have felt. As I said, half of our First Nations are using French and or language as second language. And it's very key for us to maintain a skilled workforce, but at the same time, making sure we nurture our feelings of pride. And the issue we're having is that Canada believes that elementary and high school is a core right, but we're pushing the government further to say that the federal government must incorporate post-secondary education to its fiduciary responsibilities on education, because back in the 1960s, a high school diploma, you could get away and do a good career. But right now, you can't do that. So we need college. We need university teachers. We're actually working on a project to build our own university here in Quebec. But to do that, you got to get past college.
Next question I'd like to ask to Ms. Este. And you mentioned in your opening about Bill 37 and the importance of that, to have that system rolled out by 2029. And I was hoping maybe you could just speak to that importance and what you see as some of the big barriers to having some of these many strategies that you mentioned that have been articulated, and the challenges from actually getting those implemented in practice.
Thank you for the question. I believe that the major block in going forward with some of these past strategies is a lot of them are short-term based, depending most specifically on like premier based. Like with Bill 37. The premier at the time was advocating for it like incredibly well, and it brought up a lot of hope. But sadly, as his time came out of office, then little was done about it with Bill 37, and it's almost seen as reoccurring where the bills that they're trying to pass. Like you cannot fix an education system in 4 years, so to base it off in that time is incredibly difficult as well. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Weiler. Madame Bérubé, vous avez la parole pour 6 minutes.
Ms. Bérubé, 6 minutes. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me? I would like to congratulate Ms. Estee for coming here with her colleagues to attend the Indigenous Affairs Committee. Our colleague here represents a success model. We've heard a lot about motivation for Indigenous students who need a different type of training. And just like all students, they need incentives and motivating factors for them to be able to continue their studies and to succeed. So, how do you ensure this motivation in your CUNA college? I will start before Jose. Having the capacity to ensure financial sustainability in the college, which now survives only with 40% of what it needs from the province. As I said, with SCAMON, we could take care of young people while our students are in training. We can provide a culturally suitable environment. We have 2 Inuit students now. So it's a source of pride for us because young people are able to develop together with their cousins from the other nations. All this expertise, which is culturally informed, was developed over time, and Jose could add to what I'm saying. It has allowed us to provide this environment that makes us the only college that enables us get a 92% graduation rate, considering when the young people come. Jose? Thank you for that question. What is special with our students at CUNA is that they have a study plan and they can project towards a better future. They can see a better future. The question of future generations is always raised during graduation. Every student does present a testimony. And the idea is to inculcate the idea of education and a better future to other people. And when students try to go to non-Indigenous colleges, it's a disaster when it comes to adaptation and the training they receive. But when they come to our place, they have a unique experience. When you look at CEGEPs in Quebec, other schools don't have the same kind of training, and they have psychotherapy services, and we could also offer follow-up services, sometimes once a week for 6 months. And in addition to that, you have the environment that helps them build resilience through their relationships with teachers and staff and cultural interveners and pedagogic workers. And this helps them to get some self-fulfillment and to to succeed through cultural informed approaches. To conclude, I would like to focus on our cultural intervention through physical activity that is divided into different territories. And this is something that could be lacking for people who are coming from remote areas. You explained very well what your college is doing. When it comes to success rates, how is it reflected? We go beyond the figures in Kiona College. It's more than statistics. My colleague talked about graduation rates, but there's also human success, because after going through Kiona College, our students are more proud of their culture, they are assertive, and they're able to ask for what they need. But sometimes they don't necessarily obtain a diploma, but they are able to come through our college to discover what they really need before they go elsewhere. There's also the matter of children who are part of the education environment in Kiona. It's been 10 years now that I've been working at Kiona College. Many of these children would like to attend Kiona, and they want to go further because they see how their parents are succeeding. When you talk about young people and students, are they coming from all over Quebec? Yes, they come from different communities from Quebec, throughout different communities. When you talk about the good acts that have been taken by the college, which could be a model for others, what are they? I'm talking about the psychosocial services that we offer in spite of the lack of funding. So it's important to have a psychologist who's there for many years. That's a luxury that people cannot afford within the community. They have specialized neuropsychologists working in communities who understand the issues related to second language learning. And there's all these workers that are there, all these social workers. One of them studied in Kiona, spoke the language. When Mr. Grolui says that psychosocial services are the cornerstone of success there, it's because it's involved in academic training. To add to what you've said, Canada has just invested $1.1 million for an agreement for secondary education. What we need is $3 million in Kiona College for us to succeed. It's a tiny sum, but it will make a huge difference for creating the next generation of leaders in our community. Thank you very much, Ms. Beruve.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to thank all the witnesses that have come to give their statements here today. I am liking what I hear. Ella Esti, I thank you, and I am proud of you. And for the students that are here from Nunavut, Sivnik Savut, welcome. And to all of us here, education is very important, and I am glad to see you present here today, especially when we are dealing with a bill that pertains to education. So I'm happy to see you here. What I would like to ask you is, I'm proud of you for using 2 languages. The first language is, if Inuit are going to succeed in graduating from classes, if we want to see more graduates, we have to, you were stating that we have to include the mother tongue in the education curriculum. This has been something that has been a concern for us for a very long time. And in listening to what you were saying today, the education system is from the Alberta education system. And the words you have today, the words that you have said are very strong. Now, I want to ask you, when you were still going to school, are you aware of, or do you have an idea of what need to be met And do you have resources in place, or do you need more resources to ensure that we are seeing more graduates? What has the Department of Education been approached about these needs for resources? What is there? Are you able to answer this question? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Well, there are multiple resources that are available within Nunavut, but they are just not officially within the curriculum. To give a couple of examples, Perukvik in 2007 created a program called Tusalanga, which was a website where people can learn Inuktitut in a variety of dialects with 24 levels. And with that, they've divided those 24 levels into 3 books called the Inuit Second Language Foundations, and that was used optionally in my grade 10 Inuktitut class, which was, if anything, my Inuktitut is not very strong, and that was the most Inuktitut I have ever learned for my lifetime. And alongside that, for a more younger audience, Inhabit Media create many educational books and have their 17 reading level Nunavumi reading series, which I believe can be an amazing resource for younger children, anywhere from like kindergarten up to grade 5 or 6, but that are just not being used officially within the curriculum, and they're an optional resource, which I believe it should not be optional.
Thank you. I understand the word optional. If there were to be a vote about this, what would you want people to vote for, or what would you be looking for in terms of strengthening the Inuktitut?
Recommendations for how to make improvements. So, for example, you've just outlined that the fact that it's optional is not enough. What would you do to strengthen it so that it's we actually see improvements in the system? Do you have any recommendations you can share with us?
Thank you. Alongside having, you're either partnering with Perukvik or Inhabit Media to have their resources within our curriculum. I'm so sorry. Can the Chair, can the question be repeated, if that's okay?
Do you have a motion in place to ensure that this is not an option? This is not optional anymore, but is an actual resource for learning.
Yes, thank you. That was a better understanding. Actually, a great example of this would be specifically the Inuktitut, or actually both Audleyaktuk and the Inuktitut classes, like I mentioned before, are not a huge requirement within an academic degree. They're really the only academic quote-unquote class needed to graduate within Nunavut's system is English, is a grade 12 English class, while the rest would have to add up to 100 credits, which can be any combination of class to achieve those credits. So I believe that Audleyaktuk class or Inuktitut class should not be set aside as an option. It should really to value Inuit culture and language, and to have that to have that learning aspect. It should not. It should be with the same level as English as to you need to take a grade 12 Inuktitut class or Audayaktu class to have that official requirement to graduate.
Okay, Anime. We'll now go to a condensed second round, starting with Mr. Shields for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nice to see you in the chair.
Well, thank you very much.
Good to be back. Thank you for the witnesses being here. As a former public educator, university educator, very interesting topic, and thank you for your input. You made one comment in the sense, are there a number of students who move into the school for just a high school, or are they moving from out of the community into a different community for high school?
Thank you. Yes, I personally know a couple of students within my high school who go to Iqaluit. Mainly, it could be the option of their parents going there for work, and then would go to school there. But there are an inflow of students from smaller communities to go there for school. Yes, that is true.
So I think you suggested that some of those are having more challenges than those who live there. So that's a challenge in itself. Outside of this one, going back to the teachers in a sense, because it comes back to the teachers, I think is the fundamental piece. Now, outreach education for teachers from universities from elsewhere. I remember San Diego running university graduate courses by distance 40 years ago. Is there a possibility that connecting people who would be interested in being teachers who know the language, working with both an on-campus and off-campus curriculum for them to learn that to be accredited as teachers?
Yeah. Well, the NTEP, the Nunavut Teacher Education Program, is with with the Nunavut Arctic College in Iqaluit, where they do learn to become Inuktitut educators with NTEP. But the thing with that is NTEP is affiliated with an outside university to get that official bachelor's of education. So I would believe that there should, the NTEP program really should have that bachelor's of education should be available within Nunavut and should be able to be gotten within Nunavut.
We need to get that there. University of Lethbridge started 4 years ago with the Blackfoot in the sense of developing education teachers. So they developed this 40 years ago and developed the curriculum for them to be involved. But also now the language is being developed and taught in Blackfoot. Not teaching Blackfoot. You can teach the language in Blackfoot, but they're teaching the curriculum in Blackfoot. We're talking like French immersion, which Alberta has more French immersion classes than anybody in this country. But you've got to teach the courses in the language. That's the next step. But you've got to have teachers to be able to do that. That's the critical piece here, to get that connected. If you don't get that connected, then you're teaching the language by itself and not teaching in the curriculum. Now, the next part is to get those courses accepted as credit. Having been a former high school principal, there's ways to do that. You need to get that out of the optional into the mandatory. That needs to be mandatory as part of it. Get it out of the optional. That's got to be a recommendation. It's got to be followed up. It can't be that optional. So that's, you've been talking about that, needs to be done. When you talk about, and I thought in the university, you talked about the wraparound services. Are there outreach school for those who fall out? Is there an opportunity for them to come back? Is there any outreach school developed for high school students who left and then want to come back into an education? Is there any possibility of that?
Chair, I would like if that question can be rephrased.
Is there an opportunity for adults to come back in who dropped out of high school to come back, look to get their high school in your community?
That I am not 100% sure on, but I believe that is a high capability.
Which in the Blackfoot Nations on the reserves, that has been probably the most successful piece. They're having more students come back into the education system through their outreach high schools on the reservations, bringing those students back who failed and dropped out. And they provide them a wraparound service that gets them into secondary education. They do the wraparound to ensure that they not only get their high school, but they find a secondary education level to go to. So if you have a dropout rate You need to have a mechanism to find a solution for those that are dropping out, but if they still drop out, how can you get them back in?
Actually, thank you. This just reminded me of there is actually a wrap back process where I believe at the age of 21 you are able to take high school courses within the Nunavut Arctic College instead of being an adult walking into the high school, can complete courses within the Arctic College in a more mature and like adult environment for them to complete the high school degree and then can go on to post-secondary. So yes, that is an option.
With the languages.
It would be within the high school, like the high school curriculum. So whatever is. So
What I'm suggesting
You're
is
at time, Mr. Shields.
Alberta has taken the curriculum, Indigenous have taken it and changed it to their culture and their language. That's what you need to do. Got the curriculum? Change the language. Get it done. You need it.
Thank you. We'll now go to Mr. Pulaski for 5 minutes.
Ella, you talked about the importance of teaching Inuktitut and teaching about Inuit culture in learning and success of Indigenous students, Inuit students. And certainly we've heard from a lot of other people on this committee about those things, the importance of language, being on the land, both in terms of learning, but also in terms of identity and in terms of mental health. But also, if you want to be a good advocate for Indigenous people, for Inuit people, for things that are of interest to the Inuit people, like perhaps Lori there, she went through, I think, a lot of years of schooling, a lot of years of university. I'm assuming she did an undergraduate degree and must have done pretty well in that, and went to law school. And so now she comes down here and probably is one of the best advocates for Inuit issues of anyone here in Canada. But similarly, if you want to help Inuit people or anyone else, as a doctor or nurse, it requires, again, Western learning. Now, we've had other witnesses before this committee who talked about, in terms of Indigenous learning, teaching kids to walk in two different pathways. And do you think that's the case? And in teaching, how do you balance those two things, balance those two worlds that you want people to live in? And whether or not perhaps amongst the students there's different desires in terms of how much you want to be in one world and how much you want to be in the other world, and how do you balance those two things?
Thank you for the question. I believe that in Iqaluit specifically, it's incredibly difficult to find that balance within like Inuktitut traditional life and the Eurocentric life that comes either with work or schooling, things like that. From a personal perspective, me and my family have been like sucked into the Eurocentric lifestyle in Iqaluit, so. A lot of Inuktitut was not spoken at home and was depended on in the education system for me and many of my friends and colleagues to learn Inuktitut within the school system, to try to find that balance, because we're in school 5 days a week for majority of the year. So again, we tried to find that balance, but it just was not successful.
Do you think different kids, depending on the kind of person they are, find different ways of balancing those things in terms of some people want to follow more Indigenous ways, learn more about their own language, where others may not be that interested in it? Is amongst your friends, do you find that? Or do you find that there's a movement one way or the other?
Recently, I believe that a lot of my peers have started thinking about their own self-actualization and their own identity, and there's been an uprise of practice in Inuit traditions and cultural activities, again, to try to create that balance, especially in Eurocentric towns all across Nunavut. From my personal experience, yes, I believe that the Inuit friends that I have or peers that I have, really, even if they aren't so familiar with their language or some parts of their culture, they have an effort to learn and to experience it while they can.
And do you find in making those decisions is how to find the balance? How much is that as a result of the input of your teachers, and how much is that the result of the input of your family members, your parents, your grandparents? I'm just wondering who motivates you more when you make those choices?
Thank you. That is a great question, because within Inukshuk High School, there are a lot of staff or teachers who aren't Inuk and don't speak Inuktitut fluently, but still, even if they aren't Inuk, they still try to advocate for us to find that balance, because they also understand that either their workplace is not doing enough, and that within our own time they try to advocate for that. And even in Audlayaktuk, it is the core of that class is to understand Inuinnaqtuk, like, values, which, well, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Pulaski. Madame Berube, pour 2 minutes et demi.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je vais poser.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll put questions to witnesses from the college. You briefly talked about attendance from students coming from all over Quebec. Could you describe the recruitment process, and how does the college go to meet these students from the other communities?
Tu y vas, José, ou c'est moi?
Was that for Jose or for me? It's okay, I can start. Thank you for that question. Sustained efforts are made for recruitment. Certainly, we must consider that our recruitment pool is smaller than for non-Indigenous people. But sustained efforts are made by First Nations people who go to the communities to meet education officials and orientation officials and teachers. And we also try to organize visits to invite parents who usually have a decisive role to play. And we invite them to show them what we do, the services that we provide. So there's an entire communication section that is dedicated to recruitment. And they go meet our students where they are, and usually it's in the communities. Ms. Berube, let me add, what we've observed, statistically speaking, is that our young people are more likely to succeed or continue their education when they study in a culturally adapted environment like CUNA. Thank you. Are there specific recruitment operations in remote communities as well? Yes, indeed. In all communities that have to send students to our college, we are aware that it's a reality for most students. First Nation students have to leave their communities to be able to have access to higher education. So we are aware of the fact that they are cut off from their environment. They lost social support. They lose their community. And that's why our psychosocial services provide them with the services that could replace community support. Of course, it's not easy to leave one's community, to leave your loved ones. But there's an initial visit for these students who leave their community and then eventually reach a level of autonomy. The psychotherapy services, their independent groups where they learn how to cook, how to prepare their budgets and things like that. So there's this disconnection part and homesickness as well, and that is sometimes difficult. But it could also be an opportunity to create different skills that will allow them go back to the community as responsible and autonomous adults and citizens.
Ms. Idlo for 2 minutes and a half.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have one more question for Ella Este. And before I start, tell Pat McDermott I say hi, because he also taught my children, and he is a good teacher. And I thank you for responding to every question. You have responded with in truth. And I just want to advise my panel members here in Nunavut. There are 25 communities in Nunavut, and the cultural lives vary in every community. And I thank you for exposing what Iqaluit is like in your, although briefly. I want you to answer freely. What would you advise these students here, and what do you want us to understand? I want you to freely answer these questions and just speak your mind. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just love for the committee to understand that, like Lori just said, that every community is different, and especially in Iqaluit, it is a very Eurocentric, like modern city compared to the rest of Nunavut. And on top of that, with different dialects within the territories, with that, people learn differently. And I encourage students all over Nunavut to put up with school and really just to value your education while you can, because it is an incredible resource that you will ever have. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Ms. Este, for being with us in person. Thank you to our guests online as well. Your testimony has been incredibly powerful, and it's certainly going to serve us well as we do our study recommendations. We're just going to briefly suspend as we set up for the next panel. Thank you so much. Today we have Lac Seul First Nation, from Lac Seul First Nation, Sylvia Davis, Director of Education. In person, we also have from the National Indigenous Advocacy Committee, Ms. Shannon Corneliuson, co-chair. And from the Congress of Aboriginal Peoples, National Chief Elmer St. Pierre by video conference. Thank you so much for joining us today. You'll each have an introductory 5 minutes, and we will begin with Ms. Sylvia Davis. You have 5 minutes.
Am I, okay. Bonjour, Sylvia Davis Nindigenous, Obishagokang Nindoji. My name is Sylvia Davis, and I am a member of Lac Seul First Nation, and Lac Seul is my home. Madam Chair and honorable members of Parliament, thank you for inviting me to be here with you today. As the Education Director in Lac Seul, I want to share with you some of the amazing work that we are doing there in the Education Department, and I'll also share some of our challenges. I will do my best to cover what I can with the time that I've been given. So our community is a road-accessible community located in northwestern Ontario. Lac Seul First Nation has 3 parts to it, 3 communities that we call Frenchman's Head, Kijik Bay, and Whitefish Bay. Each community has an elementary school, and all 3 of our schools are currently exceeding capacity. We just completed a feasibility study and are currently working on a proposal to get a new school for our smallest community of Whitefish Bay. It is a very time-consuming process, which is challenging because we are in urgent need of the space. At our 3 elementary schools, we strive to create a safe, inclusive, and culturally responsive learning environment. We aim to include trauma-informed practices in all aspects of our school programming, recognizing that many of our students have experienced significant trauma in their lives. I also want to take the time to emphasize that when children and families experience trauma, survival is first and foremost, and learning, unfortunately, becomes second. With what is known about adverse childhood experiences, it would be beneficial to increase funding to be able to raise awareness and promote healthy families that have the supports and culturally appropriate resources to raise securely attached children, who then in turn could focus on their learning. We offer a nutrition program, ensuring that our students have access to healthy and nourishing food throughout the day. And of course, we offer land-based activities that are part of every student's learning experience through our outdoor education program. In addition, we as a community have worked hard to maintain a high teacher retention rate, which is critical for building strong relationships between teachers and students. It is critical that students are able to develop trust with teachers, and this consistency allows our students to feel supported and connected to their school community, which can have a significant impact on their academic success. And Lac Seul First Nation is very proud of this. For our secondary students, we must bus them into the public high school in Sioux Lookout, which is 30 minutes to an hour each way, depending on where the student lives. Despite this logistical challenge, we have support staff in the school to provide our students with the resources and support they need to succeed. We also offer incentive trips to our students, recognizing the importance of providing opportunities for our youth to explore new experiences and build connections with their peers. Several years ago, a graduation incentive trip was organized. It was a huge success, and it is something our students look forward to upon graduation. The funding for this is largely from our own community's fundraising efforts, and our high school graduation rates are very good. Having said this, we are not seeing great interest in post-secondary education. Since taking this position in our community, I'm doing what I can to personally encourage young people to pursue a post-secondary education. I have shared my own experiences going back to school as a mature student with 2 children in tow. It is not easy being an Indigenous person in post-secondary settings. It is not an easy decision to leave the community and support system to relocate to an urban setting either. One of the biggest barriers that our students face is racism. As Indigenous people, we have faced systemic discrimination and marginalization for centuries, and this has a significant impact on our students' education and overall well-being. Systemic systems like racism cannot be fixed nor solved by Indigenous peoples alone. I challenge you to be mindful that some of the issues creating barriers that prohibit Indigenous students from realizing higher levels of academic success could be rooted in an inherent racist perspective by some educators. This could be manifested in a culture of low expectations for academic rigor and achievement. In Lac Seul, we strive to mentor teachers and staff to be culturally competent. In addition to shaping culturally responsive teachers, it is equally important to ensure that our educational systems prioritize trauma-informed teaching practices. In an ever-changing world of societal stressors, including but not limited to poverty, violence, and discrimination, teachers are required to not only understand but acknowledge and address trauma in their students. By establishing these trauma-informed practices, teachers can effectively create a safe and nurturing learning environment that prioritizes the emotional and mental well-being of the students. Teachers can then build stronger connections with their students, ultimately resulting in a more supportive, inclusive, and effective learning environment. And by providing an education system that prioritizes trauma-informed, culturally responsive teaching practices, we can aim to close achievement gaps and support student growth and success. Miigwech. Thank you for listening.
Miigwech, Ms. Davis. We'll now go to Ms. Cornelson. I'm saying your name wrong if you want to correct me. Cornelson? Okay, great. You have 5 minutes.
Madam Chair, Chief Elmer, and distinguished members of Parliament, Tansei Nitotemtik, Nitsigasan Shannon, Eganita Wigian, Miskwachi Waskaigan, Kiskano Amagasoyan Kitsi, Kiskano Amatolgumik, Nananisro Ten Nehi Awewin Apsis. Hello and how are you, my friends? My name is Shannon. I was born in Edmonton. I'm studying at the University of Alberta, and I understand a little bit of Cree. It's important for me to introduce myself in Cree, though, because it is the language of my ancestors and because my mother is a residential school survivor. My mom was taken when she was 5 years old and endured physical abuse, mental and emotional abuse. She lost the hearing in her right ear when she was very small from something that a nun did to her. My mother is now 85 years old, and she suffers from something called post-traumatic stress disorder. PTSD is something usually first responders or soldiers might have when they get exposed to too much trauma. It should never be something that children have when they are returning from school. My mother will never recover from the events at residential school, but that is part of my healing journey. I have to do the healing for her, because that is how you break the cycle of intergenerational trauma, so that that cycle doesn't carry forward into the lives of my children. Wekutuwin is a word in Cree that means we're all related. I feel that that is the only way that we can move forward into the future, is by treating each other with the respect and love that we have for family. Positive role models that we have today, like Governor General Mary Simons, MP Idloud, Dr. James McCocas, and scholars like Dr. Chris Anderson and Dr. Billy Ray Belcourt. They're all contributing to this new world of indigeneity, where there are strong, educated, positive individuals. What we need to do, though, is to be having this open, positive dialogue with all of our non-Indigenous communities and allies, so that we can all start to heal from some of these intergenerational traumas. Wekutuwin, if we're all related, then I hope all of you can empathize with the need for more financial supports to Indigenous students, modified terms of reference for the Indigenous Skills and Employment Training Program, and less systemic racism within our post-secondary institutions. That is what I am here to discuss today as the co-chair of the National Indigenous Advocacy Committee of the Canadian Alliance of Student Associations. I'm passionate about how Indigenous students can be better supported in post-secondary education. There are many gaps and barriers for Indigenous students accessing higher education. In my own experience as an Indigenous student, my band funding was denied because they explained to me that they could only afford to fund 15 high school students. As a mature student, I didn't qualify for any of that. I was then redirected to the Free Horse Family Wellness Society, and I was receiving funding from their post-secondary. So I also had to apply to the Canada Student Loans Program, and so now, for me, there is no such thing as a free education. That is a myth that is perpetuated in Canadian society. It doesn't exist. My story is only one of many Indigenous students who struggled to secure funding for their post-secondary education. In order to reduce these barriers for students, I'm asking this committee to consider the following: to increase funding to the Post-Secondary Student Support Program, known as PSSP. This program is a major source of funding for Indigenous students, but because of Indigenous youth are one of the fastest growing demographics, the program doesn't have enough funding to meet the demand. We're also asking that the government would modify the terms of reference for the Indigenous Student Employment Training Agreements, known as the ISET agreements, to remove ties to the post-secondary education to labor market outcomes. Since these agreements and their funding are tied to labor market outcomes, this limits the funding for certain educational programs that are deemed less than beneficial for the labor market, and therefore compromises the availability of programs for Indigenous learners and violates Indigenous treaty rights established in the numbered treaties. If we want Indigenous students to thrive, we also need their communities and their culture to thrive. We need to ensure that they can access post-secondary education and freely choose their program of study. I ask this committee to remember that we are all related, and an improvement for one is an improvement for all. And I will happily take your questions. Hi.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to National Chief Elmer St. Pierre. You have 5 minutes.
Bonjour, Ani Sego. Before I begin, I'd like to acknowledge I am speaking on the territory of the ancestral territory of the First Nation, Métis, and the Inuit people in Winnipeg, Treaty 1. I would also like to thank the chair, Madam Chair and the INAN Committee for inviting me here today. As the CAPS National Chief, we've been advocating for this for over 50 years. One of our biggest priorities is education for our youth. 2.5 years ago, when I was elected, that was one of my platform speeches. I wanted to make sure our youth had access to funding for education. I believe our outcome for education for our students are very high, because those kids that are going on to college or university, it's mom and dad that's put them there, as well as themselves. They've worked summer after summer. Some of them even taken after school work in order to continue on. They don't want to fail them. First of all, they don't want to fail themselves, nor do they want to fail their mom and dad. But the worst thing, our students, through the CAP organization, they have no access to get any funding whatsoever. We've had dealings with Inspire, and now they keep telling our students, you don't qualify. Well, how can you not qualify as being a Métis person? If they have the documentation that they're Métis, then they're Métis. I don't know if I've never heard of any other documentation you need. And as far as going, in the east and the south and that, we got to remember our leader, Louis Riel, was born and raised in Quebec until he went westward. But in any case, that is one of our biggest concerns is our youth. And like my colleague before that spoke, like we got to really support. And we're asking the committee here to take back and say, listen, in order for us to have a good youth outcome from college and university, we need to help and support them out. And we sit back and we think, oh, look at all those young kids over there on drugs or doing whatever they're doing. Maybe those kids wanted to go to college or university, but they couldn't because there was no funding for them to go. So what are they going to go to? Oh, I'm going to go with my buddy that's hanging out in the streets. And that's our fault. That's our fault. Your fault. Because if there was funding there for our kids, and we need more funding. There's no doubt in my mind. We need more funding because I think we need, with the funding and with the kids going to school, the outcome is going to be they're going to be in good jobs. They're going to be working. They're not going to be hanging out on the streets looking for something to do or to get into trouble. And with and it's just sad to say that this is the way we're treating our youth that's coming in. We've all at one point or another been discrimination, racism, but what other form for our youth within the CAP? Maybe it might not just CAP, maybe other Aboriginal kids. What a great way to say, hey, this is discrimination against you. You're not going to go to school because you don't qualify. But I'd like to really stress on, like what our colleague said, we need lots of funding, and we need to put it so that our children, when they're coming up, and not just coming up, some of the ones who want to go back to school, is get a chance to prove themselves. With that, before I do say that, the colleague just before me, I'd like to ask the Creator to guide you as you make your journey for healing, and that He watches over you as you travel your way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief St. Pierre. We'll now proceed to our first round of questions with Mr. Vidal for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank all three of our witnesses today for your contribution to our study and the impacts it'll have on the report that we provide when the study is complete. I'm actually going to throw this question out to all three of you. I had a different strategy until I listened to all three of you, but I'm going to actually change my ways here. So I'm going to give you each an opportunity. One of the things that we've heard throughout our study, and I want to just reiterate, our study is about improving outcomes, including graduation rates, including but it's the bigger picture is outcomes, education outcomes. It's not just focused on a little piece of it. So in my mind, that starts all the way at kind of pre-K through the post-secondary stuff. And one of the things that we keep hearing about is attendance directly correlated to the outcomes. And starting with kids. Now, you all have your own experience. I know the National Chief, is focused on urban Indigenous folks that's their focus. You know, the ladies at the desk here are focused on other groups of people from where you represent and where you come from. So I just want to ask you, in the context of attendance and that direct correlation, how in your experience, in your situation, in your where you have an impact, how we can encourage improved attendance all the way from pre-K through post-secondary to improve overall outcomes in education. And maybe I'll just go in the order that you presented. So Ms. Davis, you get to go first, and then Ms. Cornelison, and then National Chief St. Pierre.
Lucky me. I was probably the most nervous coming in here too. So attendance is something like prior to taking this position, I was a high school teacher, but the high school that I worked at was for northern students who left their remote communities and came to a site outside of Sioux Lookout. And so attendance there was a lot different than it is inside a community where the students come from their parents to come in. The site that I was at prior to, like the high school I was teaching at, there was nowhere for the students to go. It was like at the end of a dirt road in a beautiful setting, a peninsula surrounded by water and waterfalls, and so they could go for a nature walk, but you could trust that they weren't very far. So for attendance, it's especially post-pandemic, like coming back, like this year is the first year in 3 years that we've had school every day. And so it's exhausting. Our staff are exhausted. Our students are exhausted. And like now that it's April and like June is sort of in sight and it keeps snowing, like we're tired as educators. And so what we're doing is we try to have fun activities at the end of the day. So in Lac Seul, our 3 schools, they have they have a different approach to ending their school day. They want to end it on a fun note. So every week they have the students have a handful or up to 10 activities, depending on which school they're at, because we vary in sizes. They can sign up for an activity, and so the last hour of every school day, they could be crocheting, they could be doing origami, they could be doing drama, they could be doing whatever the teachers and the staff want to offer in terms of an extracurricular. And so then the students are excited to go and participate in that activity that they chose to participate in. And so that was helping, especially through the pandemic. So that was one way that we tried to focus on that in the elementary school. With our high school students, as I mentioned, we bus them in, and so they spend a lot of, like, if they miss the bus, it's an hour to get to school. And so since I've become the director, I've actually really pushed our staff to get students to school. Their job isn't to get kids on the bus; it's to get students to school. And so we strive. We've purchased vehicles that hold numerous students. We're licensing our staff to be bus drivers, and they're getting kids to school. So that's one of the ways that those are some of the ways that Lac Seul is doing this.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you for the question. In regards to attendance, I think we really need to address as well the intergenerational trauma that is affecting entire family units at their home life. That is a major aspect of why children do not complete their high school education. There needs to be a lot more supports for mental health. Quite often we have how shall I say, we have our own ceremonies and our own ways of doing things that are beneficial and ground us in our culture, and that promotes our healing as well. But those things are not taught in our current curriculums. As was mentioned earlier, Treaty 7 has some wonderful programs where they are doing some immersive Indigenous knowledge and teaching. That needs to be across Canada, in my opinion. Also, land-based knowledge and land-based courses are another way to keep people engaged and promoting their Indigenous heritage as well, so that they are grounded and they know why they are going to university and what is going to motivate them into other ISETS program training or whatever they need to be doing.
We are at time, but Mr. St. Pierre can certainly respond.
Yeah, I think one of our main things is it comes up right back to funding again, because our students, if they have to work after school, you know, they may have to work until 9, 10 o'clock, and they're trying to do their homework at the same time. So they're going to be really stressed out come morning, and they're not going to show up for school. But then again, we can, you know, there's many things that, you know, just like you say, think outside the box what we can do to keep them in school. And I would think one is to make sure that these kids do not have to work after school, unless they want to work just to have some, you know, as I would say, some play money that they can go out and, you know, party if they want to party. But, you know, it is a good question. And we should be thinking really hard is how will we keep them in school? You know, and I like our colleague before me, like a lot of our young kids, they don't know what our heritage is all about. I know I've got kids come up, why do you go to powwows? What's all that dancing and drumming all about? You know, it's just simple little things like that, you know, I grew up knowing about it, but the other kids, they don't know. They go to a powwow, and I don't know whether they just think it's just a big party that all the families get together, and actually that's what it is. It is a big party that for all our families, and we're not blood family, we're just families. We get together. And, but, you know, our children need to know our heritage as well, and to be put into the curriculum of them in there where they can go to that certain class. That'd be great.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to Mr. McLeod for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the presenters today. Very interesting discussion. I'm from the Northwest Territories, and I certainly agree with a number of things that are being said today, especially investment that is required for more resources. I know in the Northwest Territories, and I think it applies to Nunavut and Yukon, we have almost a two-tier type of education system where the regional centers have a certain level of education, and most of the students that graduate can go off to university or college. But if you live in a smaller community, the challenge to go from with a grade 12 from the smaller community to university is pretty much impossible without doing some upgrading. So there's a lot of frustrated students that once they realize that they hit grade 10, grade 11, they drop out. They're saying, we just found out we've got to do another 2 years of upgrading after 12 years. And it's because there's not enough resources for the proper courses so that they could get into the big institutions. And we do have a challenge with attendance because we have a challenge with housing. We have so many students that will go to school, but they're falling asleep because they couldn't sleep all night. There's so many people in the unit that they're staying in, you know, and of course, you know, we don't have the tutor support that there is needed to, because if your parents don't have the higher level of education, they can't provide you assistance with your homework, and it becomes overwhelming for a lot of the students. That's what I hear. And of course, you know, the sun is up till 10 o'clock right now in Northwest Territory, so kids don't want to go to bed, and by next month there'll be 24 hours a day sunlight. So, you know, the sunshine is part of our challenge to keep young people in school. But there's other things. You know, there is no facilities in our communities for sports programs, so a lot of children, the other young people, just get so frustrated, and when they do participate, they can't compete with the larger centers. And so by grade 9, there's hardly any girls playing sports. You know, the girls are the ones that you really notice that drop off by grade 9. So if any girl wants to play sports, they have to do it on an individual basis. And the cultural shock of going into a larger city, a different part of the country where there's a lot of people, the experience for many of them is discrimination is something that they don't experience in a small community because they're the majority. Then they go to a larger center, they become the minority. So lots of things. I'm hearing that we need investment. I totally agree. I think we need a navigator program. We don't have staff housing, so a lot of teachers don't want to come to our communities. And we should do a visit of some of the accommodations that some of the teachers are staying in. You'd be shocked. I think I don't have to tell the witnesses, but my colleagues for sure. So I wanted to ask all of you to talk a little bit about what we need in the communities for investment in order to get to the level where we can start looking at post-secondary, because in my communities, there's too many that don't make it to that level. We'll just go around.
Okay, so that's a really good question, and it's one that I've been thinking about, especially once I received this invitation. So our First Nation doesn't have an REA, and I'm a little bit leery about it, honestly. I think there's some history with the government maybe that is in play, and I ran into Minister Hadjoud this morning at the airport, and I actually approached her and I asked her, I said, why can't post-secondary funds be included in an REA? Because if we as a community had the power to say we need this much money for educating our students that are from the community and who live outside the community, then that gives us a greater power. Then we're not running into problems like my colleague here has had, where she was a mature student. I was a mature student, and I was fortunate to have access to post-secondary funding through Northern Anishinaabe Education Council that runs out of Sioux Lookout and Thunder Bay. And so, but right now, Lac Seul's post-secondary funds is channeled through NNEC, and we're leaving it like that because we may benefit more from it. And we share the funding with the northern communities north of Sioux Lookout. And so if there's one community that has, say, 5 spots with NNEC and they only send 3, it might be a Lac Seul member who has access to that funding. And so if I pull away from there at this point without having the promise of our needs be met in terms of post-secondary funding, then we're going to stay there to benefit my community. But then at the same time, it feels like we're stealing from another community and some of our cousins and our brothers and sisters.
Thank you for the question. What we have identified for CASA, we represent over 400,000 students, and specifically this Indigenous committee, we asked all of our members what was needed, and there were the top 3 things that we identified immediately were better housing, better mental health care supports, and increased funding. And with the increased funding, we are asking the government, we're asking MP Miller to expand the investments in the post-secondary student support program to meet the program demand so that everybody can attend. And we're also asking for the eligibility criteria for the program to include more than Indigenous students, including Métis students, as well as students from the Northwest Territories, James Bay and Northern Quebec Agreement, and with the Northeastern Quebec Agreement, who reside outside of their territories for more than 12 months. So what we are asking for really is an increase in funding, just so that there's more eligibility. To be Indigenous in Canada puts you in a box, and you are either First Nation or Métis or Inuit, and that does not necessarily describe the entire Indigenous community in Canada. And so we need to be more inclusive in that respect as well. It's very disheartening when you have somebody in grade 9 who sees a system that doesn't fit them and finds no way or no supports that will move them forward. Quite often these children, literally they are children, are suffering their own traumas with their own families, their own addictions. Those are things that are part of that intergenerational cycle of trauma that is perpetuated. And that is how we also need to support our Indigenous students in the North I think so much more than what is available. They're working with a curriculum that is based on Alberta, which is south, and that's completely different to how a northern learner should be accessing post-secondary education. So I believe that we need to just be focusing on those things and moving forward with more funding.
Unfortunately, we're far over time for that one. So, Chief St. Pierre, if you could add that perhaps if you're asked a question from one of our other members today. So we'll move on to Madame Berube pour 6 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for coming here as witnesses. My question goes to Ms. Davis and your colleague. We know that at the beginning, people have come here to talk about the needs in communities. I would like to continue by talking about the urgency. Do you think that your situation is urgent when it comes to education? Is it necessary to identify those needs as urgent needs that the federal government has to address as soon as possible?
Right now, our urgent need is space and capital funding for a new school in our smallest community. We have over 40 students in a school building that is basically the size of a house with an addition, and so we have 10 kindergarten children in a very small room, which is very challenging. And so we have contracted someone to conduct a feasibility study, and now we understand that the study is being presented to ISC, and we're just going to be waiting in the queue. And so I don't know how long that queue is, and we hope to see this before. I don't know what we will do if we can't get a school in the next 2 or 3 years.
That is
urgent. Same question for the...
Oh, same question. When you think of the demographic of how many Indigenous learners are coming into age for being eligible for post-secondary education, approximately 130,000 new Indigenous students qualify to become to join post-secondary this year, and approximately 70% of those will not be able to enroll because there is inadequate funding. When we're talking about the Canadian labor market right now, we know that we are in an aging out population. And here we have this entire demographic that is growing at 9.4% and getting larger and larger. And we don't have the adequate sources to put them into post-secondary education. There are no resources available for them, and that is unfortunately, I think, an urgent matter that needs to be addressed. Our funding, the PSSSP program, is also sunsetting. It was guaranteed in the 2021 budget to have 2 more years of funding. Well, we haven't seen any government recommendations to promote that any further than 2023. So when a program is sunsetting, we still need all of these Indigenous learners to get to school. How are we going to do that? That is an urgent call.
Mr. St. Pierre?
Yes, on our first colleague, I would really like to stand up for her. Like, because if you say the urgency, in her case, it's a crisis. She's saying within 2 years' time, she don't know what they're going to do up there. They need a school. They need a school now. Why is it that in the major cities, turn on, brand new schools are being built. Old schools are tore down. Don't know why, but they're being tore down, brand new schools. So I think within the next 2 years, maybe even sooner, we are in a crisis because we're running out of space. And again, where are those students? If the students are going to come out of the north, where are they going to live? In the cities, in the urban areas. But I really stress on our colleague where the school is going to be needed within the next 2 years. I'll even go one step further. When I go back home in Ottawa, I'll write a letter in support of her and I'll send it to her. All she has to do is get me her address and that through the program here, the INAN, and I'll support her 100% on anything like that. Thank you.
Vous avez encore une minute.
You still have 1 minute.
Que vous parliez justement que le gouvernement fédéral.
You're saying that the federal government is not providing requested funds. Why do you think the federal government should help you even more?
First of all, that is a treaty obligation. Education was something that was negotiated with the government and Indigenous peoples of Canada. I believe that education is a treaty right, and we need to. They need to honor that right. Indigenous people across Turtle Island, across Canada, have been neglected and systemically discriminated against because we have been thought of as less than the rest of the Canadian settler population. And quite honestly, it's time for us to be regaining our education so that we can finally join in this Western society that has already almost assimilated us. So yes, for me, further funding is required.
Merci, Madame Berube. Ms. Idlo, for 6 minutes.
First of all, I want to thank you for your presentation. And what you say to us are very important. And thank you for sharing certain aspects of your lives. Because as Indigenous peoples, we have suffered under certain regimes. We were oppressed by others, and we are similar. We are Indigenous. We're like a family, and I believe that we are almost alike. We've been through same experiences because education was used as a tool for assimilation. If we are going to keep moving towards reconciliation, and if Canada is going to pursue reconciliation, yes, we need funding to encourage reconciliation through education. And what my colleague said, yes, or what one of our presenters said is very true. There is a need for new schools. I was in Hall Beach just recently, and they're lacking space. There's not enough room for students there. And if there are many things that are still lacking that need to be met. There was a time when I was in Alphaet before COVID hit, before the pandemic hit, and they were expecting a new school to be built because the school they had was overcrowded. But once the pandemic hit, the money or the funding that was allocated for building that new school vanished, and nobody knows where it went. Yes, there is a desperate need for funding to build schools. I will be asking my question in English.
My question in English because I feel like I can't ask it in Inuktitut. the way that I would want to. We know that, and I would love for all three witnesses to answer this question. We know now for a couple of decades that education continues. It's not a part of history, but education is continuing to be used as a colonial tool to continue to oppress and suppress Indigenous peoples. And too many Canadians don't understand that. And that's why we talk about systemic racism. And I wonder if each of you could give an explanation as to why that funding is so important, because the reason I wanted this study to happen is because I've lived this experience with systemic racism, with colonial education system, and I see the struggles that First Nations, Métis, and Inuit have had, that we continue to have, and to still continue to want more education because we want to be contributing Canadians. Other Canadians would say, well, I'm going to make money, I'm going to save money, and I'm going to send my kids to school. But for First Nations, Métis, Inuit, we still struggle to have that reality because of the oppressive and suppressive policies that continue to impact our realities. And I wonder if you would have some recommendations that you can share with this committee to make sure that we're actually trying to make a difference, so that we are able to say, here's where the money can go to. I don't know how to ask it in a simple way, to ask you, how can you help educate more parliamentarians so that we do see actual change? What are your recommendations? What would you say to the committee? What do you say to us now so that we could see immediate change later?
You too, for speaking in your native language. I really appreciate that. Language, if you don't know your language, you don't know your culture. Education has been something that tried to strip away all of that language knowledge from us, but as an Indigenous post-secondary student, I am learning my language because I am reclaiming that. In teaching the rest of the parliamentarians, I would ask if they have actually read the TRC report, because quite honestly, that is very impactful for everything that we are advocating here for today. The post-secondary school system is not made for us, but we're still doing it, and we are still surviving with it. I would ask that education on our history and why we have these systemic issues, for instance, the Indian Act, the different ways that treaties were negotiated, and even just the basic information on Indian residential schools needs to be common knowledge. It needs to be something that we can all speak on. These are difficult topics, and unfortunately, too many Canadians don't feel that it's their purview. They feel that it's in the history books. It's not. We're part of that. It is a living part of our lives right now. So we all need to be aware of that. So I would say more education on TRC so that we can move forward with the recommendations. Money isn't going to solve everything, but it's going to really, really help build schools.
That's a really good question. And I know I tend to ramble on, so I'm going to try to keep this short. But I think, honestly, one thing that I struggle with is the fact that not enough people acknowledge the fact that the education that First Nations people had prior to contact was amazing. And then to have it ripped away from us through residential school. The education I have, I value. However, I don't have my language. And that is a result of so many systemic and colonial things that directly affect me. The foster care system in Manitoba, my mother's a residential school survivor, and I was just not taught. And I've had it around me. It is something I do plan on reclaiming. And so when you said earlier that it's important for you to introduce yourself in your language, I full-heartedly agree, and this is why I did the same. Unfortunately, that's all I have. So we need, like, I know there was a study on language. We definitely need that to happen. And I just am tired of the mindset that, you know, there is one right way to educate children. And if we can move away from that and allow some self-determination in our communities, that would be amazing.
Chief St. Pierre?
Just like my colleagues had said, we've got to let the people know what our ancestors went through, and the government themselves, they got to start reading some of the stuff that, like the TRC, UNDRIP, the Daniels case. Everything is in that. What is the outcome, especially the UNDRIP? Canada signed on to that, and they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing under the UNDRIP. Like education was one of the main things, and like we can go through everything. Like housing was another one. Different avenues that the Aboriginal people that need it, and they made sure UNDRIP made sure it was in there. And it's up to the government, really. When you come down to think about it, it's up to the government. Yes, we can give you, you know, we could sit here day after day and give everybody an example what should be done. But if we take this back and nothing's done about it, it just kind of reminds me of the murdered and missing women. 40 years, and we're still sitting in the same spot. We're just spinning our wheels, and you know, I'm hoping, and you know, in 5 years' time, are we going to be sitting here again? I probably won't be, but are we going to be sitting here again asking about our education system? You know, I hope not, and I hope this panel here goes back to the government and say, listen, we've done this time and time again. Let's start acting on it. Let's not put it up on the shelf and say, oh, we'll get to it. No, let's do something about it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to our witnesses for joining us. I can assure you your voices will absolutely be elevated. We take this very seriously. And I just wanted to add that I have your document, Reclaiming and Reimagining, from CASA. If there's any pieces of this you'd like us to include in our report, please submit a written brief so we can make sure to put that in there. So thank you very much to everyone again. I declare the meeting adjourned.
Bye.